and welcome to another episode of Founderology Built to Breakthrough podcast. My name is Kathleen Wood, and I am the founder of the award-winning growth strategy firm, Kathleen Wood Partners. I'm also the host of Founderology Built to Breakthrough, and I'm super excited to announce that I'm also the founder of the Founderology Growth Summit, an exclusive event where we bring together visionary restaurant founders for 2.5 days to exchange, to have conversations, to share tips, tools, and resources to accelerate their growth. And if you haven't had a chance to get to know me by this time, I know that this is another opportunity for you to get to know me, as I have the amazing opportunity to talk to game changers, innovators, and founders who are building brands to break through. Today, I'm super excited because we have the dynamic mother and son duo, Donna and Daniel Golik, the founders of Chillin' Nitrogen Ice Cream. They are truly changing the way that this delicious frozen treat is just growing through Florida and many more locations to come. You know, Donna takes care of all the brand and how that brand comes across to the customers. And Daniel is the genius behind the concept itself and how those operations run to perfection with nitrogen. So Donna and Daniel, it's a pleasure to have you on Founderology today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
But it is great to have you both here. And I thought what would be great is if you could share with us a little bit about your origin story of how you really took this idea that you had. You know, you're building it, you're trying to figure it out, you're doing it in the garage, and how do you get it to where it is today?
So, yeah, we started kind of as just a fun idea. We had, myself and a friend of mine had seen people do nitrogen ice cream by hand. So, pouring milk into a bowl, whisking, adding some liquid nitrogen, and making ice cream on the spot, and thought that was like a really cool idea, and something that could had like a lot of room for improvements and could just be a really cool concept, specifically for South Florida, where I grew up, and so we kind of started tinkering with that idea in the garage and thinking about how you build a concept around that. I've come from a very entrepreneurial family. Both parents always promoting, trying things, trying your own business throughout growing up, and so they were super supportive of the idea, and we eventually landed on opening the first store in an area called Pinecrest in Florida, and it was just a ton of fun, and it just kind of kept growing from there.
So Daniel, how long are you in the garage tinkering around with the idea, though? Because that's always not, like Hewlett Packard started in a little garage, and look what they became, and look what similar story. You're starting in the garage. How long you're in there? How long are you kind of working on things?
It was about a year that we were messing with, how would you add the nitrogen? What are different ice cream recipes? I was actually at the time working at a kind of a high-end restaurant in Miami Beach, and so I was, tapping a few of the culinary people over there, the pastry chefs, and saying like, what recipe would you guys use? So learning a lot. And then after about a year, we started like, what type of location would we want? And started kind of looking at that side of it and what type of square footage, and kind of building out like the business plan a little bit more now that we had a little bit of the product side, starting to be figured out of where we wanted to go.
Oh, that's great. I do think you are a dynamic duo. You've got the mother-son relationship. You've got the brand and the customer experience that Donna's got. You've got operations and growth. So Donna, what's the vision that you have for Chillin' Nitrogen now?
We've seen it a lot of great growth, starting out just having corporate stores, together. And then as we've started franchising, that's been, a whole different growth and challenges, and that's been fun as well. We would like to continue to see the franchising side of it grow and continue to grow and develop that.
Absolutely. So you've got the entrepreneurial based family where everyone's kind of entrepreneurial in their own right. Now you're working on your concept in the garage. Then you find this great location in Pinecrest. So when did you both realize after opening at Pinecrest that you're like, wow, we are onto something? Like you had that aha moment and you knew this concept is breaking through. What was that for both of you?
I can start. For me, it was pretty clear. We opened in like October, and I want to say by the first summer, it started to really take off. Where lines out the door, just a lot of different publications, things happening, and just talking to the customers, people driving 45 minutes, driving an hour to come get ice cream. And at that point, we're just like, maybe we have something here. It's kind of, really exploding through social media as well as just kind of word of mouth. And it was just a really fun time because we were still at that point, it opened maybe 6 to 8 months and we're still trying to figure it out. But everyone was just really excited about it. And we were starting to figure it out where we could start to turn it over a little quicker and see, maybe how this could be a scalable business.
Yeah. Yeah. What about for you, Donna?
Yeah, it was just such a novel and new thing and something fun in the community. And it was something that was a really fun thing for our family. My daughters were involved as far as the branding. They did a lot of the design work. Both of my daughters have design and very creative background, and so they have been involved, and one of them continues to be especially involved with the branding of the company as we've evolved. And so it's been great. And I have to say, like, from the beginning, the first store, it was a very special time for our family. And the community that wrapped around us was just amazing, and amazing support. Because we had a lot of stuff that happened in our family, and Danny was really taking just a gap year. He was going to go to medical school, and was just taking a break, and dabbling in this. And then he, presented this fun idea to our family. So this wasn't really something that, we were expecting for him to, to really take on. He was going to medical school in our eyes. So it was something that kind of took a little sideways direction. And, we, coming from our background of entrepreneurship, if we encouraged him or supported him in this, and it was exciting. It was exciting to see him take it and believe in it and find something that was novel and interesting and different in Miami, and to see the community come around it and support it was really exciting. So that part of it was a lot of fun.
No, and I think what's important to note too is, I know you're saying novel, and I'll add to that, like, this proprietary system that you created. Because I think when people think, chillin', and they think, not chillin', but when they think nitrogen, they usually are thinking they're going to be little pellets. They're usually thinking that it's this brick, or they're thinking like what they just saw on the Food Network, and the thing is hard and then it melts immediately. But you, just so that our listeners know, you really created a proprietary system that produces a very creamy ice cream product, so much so that you're able to ship it all over the United States on Goldbelly, right? So I think it's really important to note that you weren't just doing something that, like, hey, Daniel, to your point earlier, we're just pouring nitrogen in, here's a scoop, go. You were really creating this, genuine ice cream experience through a whole new platform using nitrogen. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've, that's one of the exciting parts of it, kind of getting into nitrogen ice cream. Was just like there was so much room for kind of innovation in a way, because there really wasn't a lot of it was technology and behind it. So we had a ton of fun collaborating with different people on all aspects of the process, from the ingredients and how to dispense the ingredients to the right amount, and how to mix them at the right speed, and how to introduce the nitrogen at the right rate. So it's, we've built in a lot of, unique software and technology that can help along those steps. And over the years, obviously, we've gone through a lot of versions of systems in the store. And, but yeah, we're super proud of that, and super proud of like this amazing texture and customization you get, but also with the speed, we produce over 120 cups an hour in a lot of the busy stores during peak time. So you're seeing an ice cream out the door every 30 seconds. The line's moving. There's a lot of action. There's smoke. It's like, high energy environment. So it's just kind of a fun thing all around.
Yeah, I personally can't wait to experience it because every time we talk, I get more and more excited about it. I'm like, okay, how can I get myself to Miami? So trust me, you'll see me at one point.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, as you're opening up more locations, as you're starting to get the rhythm of it, and you're just continuing to make the systems more efficient, more effective, did you have like a moment where you had like one of your biggest breakthrough moments where it's like, holy shoot, this was game changing for us, the fact that this happened? Have you had, what would any of those moments look like right now?
Yeah, I think for us, like early on, like I think the first so our first systems didn't have any computers or software involved with them. It was like very manual. Turn the mixer on, press here to add nitrogen, and then we kind of had the idea of how can we we realized like, oh, this is like very repetitive, and there's probably steps in here that we could automate. And so this was pretty early on, but we had some initial I just remember hooking up the first computer to our valve and our mixer, and we figured out how to do that and turning it on and then running it and just seeing I was running two machines faster than the other experienced employees on individual machines, and producing ice cream twice as fast all of a sudden. And I was like, oh yeah, we unlocked something here. This is gonna change the business for us. So that's definitely a moment that I just remember thinking we figured something out here. So
oh my God, talk about unlocking it for sure. Donna, what about for you? Was there a moment where you're like, wow, this is a real game changer for us?
Well, I guess I was more like behind the scenes, working with things. And shortly after the first store, we early on, we got a warehouse. So the only thing that I can really think of that I think was unique for us was we set up distribution very early, probably earlier than we even needed to. So rather than going out to get supplies and get things, we were buying things on pallets. We had set ourselves up kind of ahead of ourselves and made ourselves bigger than we were. So very early on, we had vendors and suppliers and distribution buying things from direct from dairies, direct from vendors, with to scale much earlier, and we're able to set up national contracts and things that helped price wise, and a lot of things that really helped during especially these times, that as pricing has continued to.
Oh my gosh!
Not necessarily helping us now. I mean, it just
Right.
seems like nothing's helping these days. But
Yeah. But what a brilliant idea, right? Because also then you didn't have to use the square footage of the footprint to store,
Yes.
because cases of cups take a lot of space,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, that's brilliant that you were
Yeah.
able to do that and get that pricing locked in, even though it's still, but what a brilliant move to get yourself, I mean, talk about getting yourself ahead quickly. That
to be able
genius.
to get custom cups and and
Yeah.
spoons and things that we wanted to do to customize to be able to buy more in bulk. So that that was something that we did very very early. So
I love it. And getting those national contracts in early too helped. Every little bit, as you said, Donna, every little bit helps.
yeah.
What do you think, since you've started now growing and opening more and you've got the franchising growing, what have you seen as one of your biggest challenges right now as you're trying to scale the business?
I think geographically we run into challenges. We have really tight knit relationships with local vendors in South Florida, so that's always as we go. We've gone into Texas and Tennessee and South Carolina. We've got to kind of forge new relationships because we do source specifically dairy. We always look to source fresh dairy from somewhere within a few hundred miles typically of the store. Because we just, the turnover is so high and we use fresh products. So that's a big one. And obviously the nitrogen vendors as well is kind of, can be challenging at times. And then, the oversight and consistency is always challenging. We try to build in these, kind of guardrails within the system itself to keep people kind of following the same process and all of that. But that, that can be a challenge as we grow, making sure that the training and the customer experience is kind of, similar or, to the kind of brand standards that we've had over the years. That I think that's always a growing pain.
Right. So kind of because of your staying true to who you are, and then also finding the supply chain to support that, because it is the fresh dairy and it is the fresh local ingredients. So yeah, I could definitely see that. I wasn't thinking about the nitrogen, but that makes a lot of sense too, because it's just not, I suspect it's not wildly available everywhere, or it takes a little bit of effort to get it available.
Or it's available in a different form factor,
Ah.
to work on how, adapting a little bit to match what's available in a particular market, which we've, had to do over the years. Because a lot of the gas vendors are kind of, specific to a region for the most part. There's some national ones as well, but we use a lot of local ones mainly. So,
What's so fascinating is I'm sure there's people listening. They're saying, well, how hard could it be to, just produce nitrogen induced ice cream that's creamy, delicious, always fresh. And then when you start to peel it back a little bit, you're like, wait a minute, there's forms of nitrogen, there's forms of different dairies. So, I just put this out there for everybody. Everybody does have their own unique opportunities, but sometimes in scaling their own unique challenges as well. From a growth standpoint, what made you make the decision to start to franchise? What was your thought process on that?
So I think for us, I think we were at 7 stores at the time when we started to look at franchising. We had been approached about franchising all the way from being open 6 months, and people interested in franchising. And kind of at that point, we were like, we don't know what we're doing, so what are we going to tell you to do? So yeah, we got. I think in the back of our head, at least for me, I've always thought franchising might be, it's a good model for us to keep growing. But it definitely got to the point with 7 stores, about 100 employees. It kind of got to the point where if we wanted to keep growing, especially out of our market, it was going to be more and more challenging. Not that you can't do it, but it just seemed like the franchise model and getting great franchise partners was going to be a little bit more scalable and just I don't know. It sounded like a better way for us to grow. At the stage we were at, for sure.
Right. No, and I think that franchising, it's a great business model. But to your point, you have to have the systems, everything kind of lined up. It's got to operate with efficiency, effectiveness, produce profitability, and average unit volumes, and then finding great partners. And it sounds like you're finding great partners as you scale out of South Florida into Texas, Tennessee, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations on that. And I'm sure still much of the country still to conquer as we talk too.
Yeah.
I was curious from both of your perspectives. When you think about what it takes to succeed as a founder, what do you think is one of your superpowers or superpower that a founder needs to have when they have this concept that they love and they want to bring it out to the masses and they want it to be successful everywhere it goes? What do you think are one of your superpowers that really helps you as a founder of the business?
You want to take it first?
Go ahead. I gotta think about that one.
That's an interesting one, right?
Yeah. I think it's definitely evolved over the years, because I think as a founder initially, it's I need to do everything and wear all the hats and know every aspect of the business. And I think that's important for sure. As we've kind of scaled and grown, I think for me, it's been really helpful to realize some of the weaknesses in the way I operate and the way I work and hire to, fill some of those voids for me of necessarily being, 100% organized with everything and staying on top of, weekly calls and things like that, and not getting sidetracked on this new thing we're trying to develop, and making sure we're keeping all the trains running on time. And so some of those things has really allowed me to continue to focus on the things that I'm passionate about, and I feel are my skill set on the innovation side and team building and things like that. So I think that's kind of been like a little bit of the evolution for myself. I feel like to be more effective as a leader and a founder. So.
That's great. That's great. What about you, Donna?
I think that's very true. And I guess for me, like I always tried to stay kind of behind the scenes and let Danny be the face of Chillin', because, he really is, it was his concept. And when he started it, he was, I think 23 years old when he thought of this idea, and I wanted him to shine. I wanted to support him, and we're co-founders, but I wanted him to be the face of it, and I was supporting him. But I guess as far as my superpower would just be, I guess, my communication, and in a supporting role that sort of has evolved, that I'm becoming more outward in a community way, like that I'm like, as part of branding and part of the community outreach. It's something that I didn't really even know that I enjoyed, but I'm doing a lot more of like the loyalty stuff and giving back and getting involved with just different outreaches and different things in the community. And I think that like you always talk about wanting to gain loyalty customers, but I think that the loyalty that you give to the community and the loyalty that you put out, gains that loyalty. So I don't know. It's just something that have enjoyed doing that I didn't really realize that I kind of evolved into. So.
Right. No. And I love that. I really do. I think that, when you're trying to grow a business, I've always said you win locally. If you win locally, you build nationally. But you have to win locally, and it really does take those community, because it takes a community to keep a business going.
Yeah.
I was curious. I'm sure people are curious too. How is it you've got, mother, son, got the daughters involved? How does that work in the family dynamics? Keeping, I was in a family business as well, and, trying to keep the peace in the business so we could still all enjoy Thanksgiving. I was just curious from your perspective, how that works well for you and why that gives you the advantage in the business as you're growing it.
Yeah. You want to answer that?
No, I think it's still an ongoing balance for sure. But I don't know. I think ultimately we have you have the trust and the belief that this person's gonna we're standing together on on the ultimate goal of growing the business, and then I think we've gotten better at kind of managing, like, hey, let's turn off chilling for a little bit, and just enjoy having all the family together, and just let's enjoy the family time, and there'll be time for chilling stuff tomorrow. So I think that's helped, at least for me.
Yeah, and we both try to stay in our own lanes as far as the things that that we do in the business, and I try not to micromanage as much as possible. But no, I think that we have a very good balance, and I just have so much respect for Danny for everything that he's done, and so I think that there's a mutual respect, and with that, I think that goes a long way to working together.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. In our family business, we had work time, and we have, just like you, family time. And it was family time. It was family time. Because everybody kind of needs a break from it. Because you could talk about it 24/7 because it's exciting and there's so much going on. And then at a certain point, it is still Thanksgiving or some other holiday. So,
Absolutely.
that's really important from that. It is a family business at the end of the day, which is so great.
Yeah.
So I was curious, one more question around like the founder's mindset. How would you describe your mindset as a founder? If someone were to ask you, like me, ask you, hey, what's your mindset? Are you optimistic? Are you visionary? Are you what is your mindset that really drives and motivates you to take this vision that you started with and really bring it into the national brand that you're growing it into?
Yeah, I think the word you used for me, I've definitely been definitely like visionary focus where I see where we could go and like how do we get there, so like okay, I see us as a national brand, and we want to have 500 locations. Well, what are the steps we need to take? What does the individual store need to look like? What metrics we need to hit? And then kind of work through what pieces we have to put in place to get there. And that's kind of how I always looked at it. Like even from when we had one store, I want to get to 3 stores. How much money do we need to make? What improvements do we need to make? How, and like, figuring out that path. This is kind of how I look at it, continually still. So.
Right. I love that. I love that. Donna, how about you?
I agree with that. And I'd say we meet weekly. Every Tuesday morning we have a meeting and we look at the numbers, and we just like have a very strong vision of what we're trying to do, and looking at where we're at right now, and then the goals of where we're going, and the path of where we're at, and so I think that's helpful, and that's super important to be always looking at your numbers and know where you're at, and not just not paying attention to that is I think a big mistake. So
Yeah. Well said. I mean, both of you well said. I mean, it's really having that vision. What is it that we're actually trying to do? Because you're putting a lot of time and effort into it, right? And then having the path for how you want to move it forward, but at the same time, then checking in on the path, and most assuredly having that financial visibility. I mean, if you're thinking about the ultimate recipe for success, in my mind, that's like music to my ears, because I think, the clearer the leader, the clearer the team, but also financial visibility equals business sustainability. And it is, so you can get so caught up in the growth of it and fail to look at what's happening financially. And and I think this is, again, comes back to being a great team, because you're looking, it's not, the burn's not on one, the opportunity is for all. And I think it speaks volumes to your success to this point too. So congratulations on that. Those are great mindsets. I always say this and people are probably like, what the heck? But well, we are coming actually up to the end of our time together. We could be talking about chilling for another hour. I feel confident about that. So I have 5 quick questions for both of you to answer. And my first question is this: if someone was coming into chilling right now, what would be the flavor that you would suggest to them that they must try because it's the ultimate? Knowing that they're all the ultimate, but what would you recommend?
Well, my favorite flavor that I love is the Cuban coffee ice cream, and I love Heath Bar. And then my hot fudge recipe is a recipe that I made that's a proprietary recipe. So loaded with my hot fudge on top.
Oh my God.
My
Cuban
go-to.
coffee and homemade oh my gosh. Okay. That was a good one, Donna. All
Thank
right,
you.
Daniel, the bar has been set now.
Yeah, I'm similar. I keep it super simple. I always suggest that to people because I think people see our massive menu and get, want to go crazy. I go like salted caramel with just brownie, and just do a super simple. It's just really good. The salted caramel is also a house recipe, and
No way.
really, really great. And we use really great brownies, and that's, it's just this is a great combo.
Yeah.
So.
Those are 2 great choices right there. Fantastic, fantastic. If you could think of one word to describe your founder's journey to this point, what would you say the one word you would use to describe your journey?
I would definitely. I mean, my word is usually something around innovating. And always looking in all aspects of the business. That's just like, whether it's a financial thing or a process thing or a customer experience thing. How can we innovate and make this more fun, better, cheaper, or more profitable, whatever that is.
Good.
So,
That's good.
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
What about you, Donna?
Oh, family. I
Oh,
think,
that's
and I say that because of my family, but I really feel like all all of the employees, I just feel like they have become family. And a lot of the kids that work for us have stayed through high school, through college. They come back and work during the summer. And I have just gotten so close with so many of them that I really, it feels like a family to me.
I love that. I love that. Family innovation, great. If you had to select a person or a book that has influenced you the most in your journey, who would be the person or what would be the book?
Well,
Go ahead.
I'll
You're
go.
ready.
Yeah. The book that I chose was Sheryl Sandberg's Option B, and the reason that I chose that book is just that it just really resonated with me when I read that early on. She went through a lot of things in her life that I lost my husband shortly before we opened the first store, and as she lost her husband, and just her resilience, her empowerment of women, I just really resonated with that book. So I loved Option B.
Yeah, I love that. And, and I am sorry for your loss but I'm sure that, he just smiles down every day because it is really just, from loss, great love comes, and look at the love of a business and the family you're building in it now too. So
Thank you.
it's beautiful. Great book too. Great book. I'm right there with you on that one. All
Thank you.
right. And Daniel?
Yeah, I think, well, I was going to say, definitely my dad, as far as, looking up to, growing up and seeing, he just always had so much passion for the business and just seemed to just love, growing the business, growing his business. And I don't know, that's just something we connected on so much growing up and, getting to be involved in different things and, and that part of it, it was just such a big connection point for us. To me that, and then, for I read the franchise MBA, which was very helpful for me as far as getting into franchising specifically. Gives you a lot of I think I would recommend that to anyone who's kind of, thinking about you as a franchisee, as a franchisor. It just does a really good job of explaining it because it is different than, it's a little, we've had to change a little bit of our mindset as a franchisor than, just running a restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say this, we've talked that I had a similar situation in my family. And one of the things I learned, a valuable lesson I learned, is sometimes from great loss, great love, great profound things come from. And that really speaks to the depth of the loss, but also a reflection of the love that you create from that loss. And I think that it's inspiring and it's motivating, but always part of the legacy, which I think is so powerful too. And Daniel, I like how you back it up with reading Franchise MBA, because I think that as you grow the company, you want to continue that legacy, but you want to continue it in the right way too. So very, very powerful. One last question for both of you. If you were going to share one piece of advice with a founder who's on their journey right now and going through their ups and downs and all arounds, what would be the piece of advice you'd share with them?
I guess finding what kind of drives you and what part of the, I guess, kind of similar to what we talked about before, just what drives you about the business, what are you excited about every day, and finding ways to be able to focus on that, and finding ways to build your team, with those, around those strengths, and around your weaknesses. That's, I think, just invaluable to a founder, depending on what stage they're at, but that I think is really helpful, and also using your community and working with other founders, I think is just super powerful for finding growth, because I think people would be surprised how willing and helpful other people who are more successful and have kind of walked the walk that you're wanting to do are willing to share and provide advice and network and all those things. Like I don't know, that was getting out there and trying those things has been, really rewarding for me, and super helpful just to know, what other people have done in the past. So.
Right, right. No, I think, that's the beauty of founders. I mean, they really are, there's unity in that community for sure. Donna, how about for you?
Yeah, I kind of along the same lines. I think just kind of like getting out of your own way a little bit, learning how to delegate, and knowing your superpower or knowing your strengths, and not being afraid to hire people that are smarter than you to surround yourself with that can complement you, and to bring in around you that can help your company grow. And I think we've been able to do that and bring people in around us that have really made a difference for things that we didn't know. That especially when we were franchising, because there was a lot of stuff that was new to us, and like allowing ourselves to like get the help that we needed at that time really has made the difference. I think that we just would not have be where we are without that.
It's so interesting that you both said that, because if people will go back and listen to the Founderology podcast, that is a theme that comes up over and over again. It's, as founders, we wear many hats. At a certain time, we have to decide which hats we're going to wear, and who will wear those hats. And let's bring in people that have expertise in wearing those hats. And in every instance, when that has come up in the conversation, Donna, they've said the same thing. Our business accelerated. We went faster. And I think that, you both said it so eloquently. So thank you both for saying that, because I really do think it is knowing what your strengths are and getting people to fill the gaps in, but it's also knowing when to take off some of the hats so that you can focus on really growing the business and not doing the business. And I think those are really, really powerful insights. So if people wanted to learn more about you and Chillin', where would they go to find out more information?
Just probably any of our social stuff is always great. So find us like Chillin' Ice Cream on Instagram and those things. And then obviously if you're interested in us and seeing more videos and things like that about the process and how stores operate, and if you're interested in opening a store potentially, chillin.com has like all that information and kind of gets kind of into the weeds a little bit more of that. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. And
then the other thing I would add, we are not on the Gold Belly that you had mentioned, not yet anyway.
But my dream.
No, but for nationwide delivery, it's we have a separate website that's chillinpintclub.com.
Yeah. So you can get it nationally.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the correction, Donna.
Yes. So it's chillinpintclub.com, which is a separate website, and we can send it to your door. So yeah.
Chillinpint.com. All right. Wow. Thank you you know what? I always love a good correction, especially when it ends up being delicious. So thank you.
No, it's just just to let you know.
Thank you so much for that. And Donna and Daniel, I really do want to say this. Congratulations on all your success. It's been terrific to spend time with you to learn more about Chillin' and the amazing vision that you have and the success that you're achieving, and now Nationwide Pints. I'm very thrilled about that too. And I really want to say congratulations. Your story is inspiring, it's motivating, and you really are building the brand that's breaking through. So congratulations to you and your team. And thank you so much for joining me today on Founderology, because I know there's a lot of people out there right now that are going to be inspired and motivated to keep going. Even when it's up and down, they're going to keep going. And when they need a little sweet treat, chillinpints.com, I'm there. So I got that right, Donna, correct?
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh. Where do they order pints one more time online?
Chillin' Pint Club.
Chillinpintclub.com. All right, let's do that. Yeah. All right. Thank you both so much for being here today. And seriously, congratulations. And we wish you nothing but success.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. And thank all of you for joining us today, because we were excited to have you here to hear this amazing journey of Daniel and Donna Golik and Chillin' Nitrogen Ice Cream. So please continue to listen. Please continue to subscribe. And please get out there every day and continue to take your brand and have it built to break through. Have a wonderful day.